What do you think of when you hear the word script? Do you think of the words in a play or a movie? Do you think of a doctor's note? Or do you think of handwriting? A definition that you may not have heard before is that of a particular idea, value, or norm. And psychology calls that a social trend. It's a way of explaining behaviour. And our lives are made up of these scripts. They give us a sense of control and security. They attribute purpose and meaning. And together, the culmination of these scripts gives us an overarching narrative and a social construct. It's a way of explaining how we live our lives and what rules we follow. We absorb and are influenced by these scripts. We pass them on, intentionally or unintentionally. These scripts are written by media, they're written by commerce, political systems, education, and our own communities. And leadership can mold and propel these scripts, harnessing them for change. But scripts aren't perfect, and humanity's constant dissatisfaction and search for new scripts is proof of that. One area that scripts have struggled to explain has been sexuality. Over the millennia, we've had so many different scripts surrounding sexuality. We've kind of swung dramatically from one side to another. Originally, sexuality was an amazing gift from God, and it was later distorted by sin. It has such a powerful effect on the human psyche. Human beings are still trying to understand how it weaves together mind, heart, body, and soul. One historical script surrounding sexuality is that of Platonic dualism. In Platonic dualism, the human being consists of two compartments, physical and spiritual. And the physical is the organs, bones, muscles, and is associated with evil. So it's also associated with lust and gluttony. And the spiritual has the opposite of this. This philosophy has its roots in Greek philosophy, not Christianity. But it came into Christianity and really influenced the way that Christianity approached sexuality. As a result, there was a high value of celibacy in the medieval church, because if it's physical, it must be bad, and we're trying to avoid sin as Christians. Nowadays, the script surrounding sexuality emphasizes personal freedom and satisfaction and self-expression. Sex is all about the individual. It's about me and my needs, and it's so available through hookup culture and porn. The tension between these two competing narratives, that sex is either something to be denied or binged, is what we as Christians have to navigate today.
In all my lifetime, I have yet to see a series that comments about biblical sexuality. We're surrounded by so many different and unique perspectives. We've got culture on one hand pushing its own agenda, where sex is normalized, sex sells, it's not necessarily exclusive, and then you've got everything that the Bible has to say about it, which is quite contrasting. Now, as Christians in this society, how do we actually navigate that? And what happens when the two different narratives collide?
Yeah, so I've actually experienced these two narratives colliding. And yeah, this was with a previous boyfriend, and we both discussed how far we were going to go. And yeah, we both had different viewpoints on this. So what do you know? The relationship ended.
And another example is having friends that are Christian and non-Christian. You can talk to them about it. You go to your non-Christian friends and they'll say, sex is sex, just go for it, experiment, do whatever. And then you go to your Christian friends who are like, no, hold off, just wait till you're married, all of that. But even them themselves probably don't have it fully clear in their head. And then you go to church and there's nothing's been run about this before. Church is pretty quiet about it. So where do we get the information from?
Yeah, so we'll definitely unpack this in this series. And if we look at Romans 12, which is probably the best example in the Bible, it asks us to be countercultural and to go against the grain in this society. With this, we have the opportunity to change the narrative around us and to actually show people what we have to say and what the Bible has to say about this too.
Yeah, and if we're going to look in the Bible, we might as well look at Jesus. Great example of it. He would go to places to talk, to teach, and where he would go, it wasn't followed. Yeah, it wasn't followed. It wasn't their culture. Their society didn't accept what he was teaching, but he still pushed through with it.
And, you know, Jesus taught ministry in a world of conflicting values. They had the pagan Roman church contrasted with the zealous religion of the Jewish leaders.
And yeah, we know that we're not alone in trying to understand this, because in Ephesians 4, you know, Paul says that the Holy Spirit will be there with us to guide our minds, to change our minds. So yeah, we're not alone in this.
Yeah, the Bible definitely, the way that it paints the idea of sexuality is that it's not single-faceted, it's not defined by just one item. You actually have this holiness and this wholeness where it actually encapsulates the physical realm, the sexual realm, the spiritual realm, the emotional realm, and that is actually what biblical sexuality is about.
And I think in these conversations, it's also tempting to talk about the do's and don'ts of sex. And so, you know, I think it's kind of helpful to reframe the conversation and ask ourselves, well, what does God really want for our sexuality?
And yeah, the Bible, it can point out that sex is not limited to what society thinks it is, that it's, you know, one-dimensional. It doesn't cover all of that. It's just sex. Go do it. Go have fun. And they think that's freedom. You know, that's doing that will set them free, or, you know, whatever. But is it really freedom?